Ethan Harris gives us perspective from the Bank of America Merrill Lynch. And joining us from Washington, Adam Posen, a former member of the Bank of England and now holding court at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Dr. Posen, good afternoon. My colleague Michael McKee with me as well points out this ambiguous phrase: the committee is prepared to increase or reduce the pace of its purchases to maintain appropriate policy accommodation. Can a central bank have it both ways? Don't they have to give a direction, or could they stand ready on a knife edge to go either this way or that way?
I think it was actually a constructive statement, Tom, because there was a whole sense coming out of recently, say, the Boston Fed conference, of a lot of chatter from Fed people about the costs of QE. And there was also a lot of chatter both from Fed people and market people all about when are they going to start tapering. They're getting ready to start tapering. And so I think it is useful information from the Fed, the FOMC rather. They're not saying they're on a knife edge. What they're saying is the risks are somewhat balanced and could go either way. In fact, if just looking at the statement, and I'll be interested what Ethan has to say, but I read it as them saying the risks, if anything, remain to the downside. So I think this was constructive, that they're saying they're prepared to adjust. The goal is the condition of the economy, not a fixation on how much they're spending.
They get revisions in first quarter GDP. You predict a moldy second quarter GDP. That next meeting, the game has changed, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Adam. I mean, this is a first step towards pivoting away from this idea that the Fed's going to exit from quantitative easing. That was, to me, was always premature talk. Now the Fed's acknowledging that there's actually a chance that they could increase their purchases as well as cut them. With the kind of data flow we have going forward, I think it's going to reinforce this idea. No exit now. We keep our foot planted in the accelerator going forward.
Michael McKee, you know the data flow better than me. We've got the job report on Friday. We go to a June 18th, 19th meeting. They're going to have a lot more information by the time they know which way to go with this maybe less accommodative stance.
A couple more months of jobs numbers, and they do seem to be signaling in here, and they do say specifically to Adam's point that the risks are to the downside, but they do seem to be signaling that they see the economy, were it not for fiscal policies sort of steady as she goes, that's having the impact on job creation, and so this may be temporary, and they want to be prepared to go either way. Crafting these statements is more art than science because you don't know how the markets are actually going to read them, but they're sort of trying to tell you here that we could do either side. Don't be surprised. Let the data dictate.
Dr. Posen, you've got real-world experience with austerity, or at least one form of austerity in the United Kingdom. Alan Kruger yesterday, the chairman of the President's Council of Economic Advisors, suggested that the sequestration effect is already upon us. How much of a fiscal drag do you estimate this Fed has to deal with?
I think he said that to you at a Bloomberg Link conference, right, Tom?
Very nice shameless plug. I like that.
Thank you. No, I want to pick up on what Michael said. I think that is the clear message of the Fed and most mainstream analysts right now, that the private sector is actually doing well. You saw the Case-Shiller numbers, for example, on housing. The prices are going up there, and supply is starting to respond. So it is a question of fiscal drag, and it's a much smaller fiscal drag than we're talking about, say, in the UK, let alone the rest of Western Europe. I agree with Chairman Kruger that the sequester's already here. I disagree with some people. I've got a colleague, Dave Stockton, former Fed economist here at the Institute. He thinks it's going to take maybe 0.75% of GDP off this year. I tend to be closer to where the IMF is. They think it's only going to be around 0.2, 0.3. But what we can all agree is it's showing up right now. It's showing up in goods and services and jobs, in spending right now, and therefore it's reasonable for the Fed to look past it, I hope, to what happens in the second half of the year.